So if you've been to the Cosmosphere in the last year, you've noticed construction going on, obviously. But one of the places where you've probably noticed it is in our lobby right next to our planetarium. Our graphics and all of our artifacts in that lobby are just about finished. And here to talk about that is our curator, Shannon. Hey, Shannon.
What?
So Shannon.
Yes, sorry. Sorry.
A lot has changed in the planetarium lobby. Can you tell us a bit about that?
I can. So when we were talking about this area and how we were going to redo it, we were thinking about our museum level and thinking about how, as you know, our museum tells the story better than anyone else of the manned space race and the Cold War. So the space race along with the Cold War. But what we don't talk a lot about is the unmanned or uncrewed space exploration that was going on in the 50s and 60s, right? And these are very important. How do we know that the lunar module will not sink into the lunar surface with our astronauts on it, killing them forever as they get sucked into some sort of cheese moon hole?
The famed moon cheese hole.
Because that could have been a thing until, Chuck, we sent Surveyor, right? Right, so we didn't know what the surface of the moon was like. So we had to send these unmanned missions. I think there were 7 surveyors in total. And they used their scoop to take samples and analyze the sample right there on the moon and send back information. You know why?
Why's that?
Because Surveyor did not come back to Earth. It is still sitting there right now, minus a couple pieces, because during the Apollo 12 mission, our astronauts landed close to it and picked up some pieces off of it in order to study how the lunar surface affected the instrumentation and various parts of the spacecraft over time. One
of those parts that was taken off of the Surveyor is actually the sample shovel, and we display that here at the Cosmosphere.
How funny you bring that up, Chuck.
Uh-oh.
Because it's getting moved up here. So
Perfect.
It'll be next to the Surveyor so we can tell that story better too. We didn't know what the lunar surface looked like. If the goal was, by the end of the decade to send humans to the moon, we had a lot of work to do to make sure we could return them safely. Because remember, Kennedy said, send them to the moon, but return them. Chuck, some people make the argument that it doesn't make sense to send people into space. If robots can do the same thing, why do you send people? The argument has been made that given the right situation, Surveyor, and if the program had been allowed to continue, would it not have been able to do the same things as humans?
Yeah.
Couldn't have gotten the picture of, who is it? Is it Charlie Duke? He looks like this big and the rock is this big.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't get that with a robot. Another interesting part here, Chuck, is we finally have a permanent display about the history of the Cosmosphere. Now, what's the number one question our front desk gets, or really any staff who wander the building?
What is this place doing in Hutch?
If you had also said, where is the blackbird, I would have said, okay. That's right. That's right. What is this place doing in Hutchinson? So finally, we have this story on permanent display. Should I talk a little bit about it for our guests or those watching who may not know?
Sure, yeah,
okay.
Let's do that.
So Patty Carey, a very influential woman who lived here, she went and saw a planetarium show when she was a kid, loved it. She brought a planetarium here, a used planetarium here, and started, I think it was the Theater of the Skies.
Yeah, I think it's here. It's over here.
It's the theater. Yeah, there's a great picture of her.
Theater of the Stars.
Of the stars or the skies?
Skies. You're right.
Okay.
It's very faint.
I only know because of this part.
Where it says Theater of the Skies. Perfect. And that's Patty right there.
Yeah, and I love the picture on the bottom left too, because she didn't just bring it here and have someone else put it together, man. She was working on it. This is our very first projector for our planetarium.
That's cool.
It is very cool.
I've always liked this particular artifact.
Yeah.
Because you can see a photo of Patty using this exact thing, and you can compare like where the tape is on the side of it to where the tape is on our version of it. And the reason for the discrepancy is that it was actually donated to a high school.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they used it for, I don't know, decades, and then donated it back to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of the markings on it are from the high school.
Remember, it would be on display out there somewhere, and then we'd have an event and we'd have to move it.
Yeah.
And we'd have, now it's got a permanent home right here next to another great artifact that tells the story of us, the McCall painting right here. And do you know anything about, is it Robert McCall? I believe it's Robert McCall.
It is Robert McCall.
Do you know anything about him?
He was a pretty famous artist in the space art world.
Yes, in the space art world.
And he also designed a lot of mission patches as well.
Did he really? Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that. See, he was
Ask Stefan for the details on that.
Okay. He was a serious space artist. And we had this commissioned, and it tells the story of us, which I think is pretty cool. So there's Patty Carey over there with her telescope, looking to the stars. The chicken is a nod to the fact that we say that they always say the planetarium started in a chicken coop, which is not true.
I have never noticed the chicken before.
You've never noticed the chicken?
There's a chicken in there.
Because they say that our planetarium started in a chicken coop. So the joke was that the Cosmosphere, or the Theater of the Skies, Hutchinson Planetarium, started in a chicken coop. But really, it was just that it was in the poultry building on the State Fair grounds.
Okay.
And our original planetarium, not the original, but like our first built planetarium is behind those doors. Well, Chuck, did you know that in 1966, the original planetarium was built in the Art and Science building of what was then the Hutchinson Junior College, which we now call Hutchinson Community College. I think the story of the Cosmosphere is just like a right place at the right time, right?
Yeah.
NASA was looking to get some of their Apollo artifacts out. The Apollo program had ended. NASA's looking to get some artifacts out on display, and we happen to have this cool new building. Hey, we could display your NASA artifacts. Send them our way. And then as the second expansion happened, the Blackbird, the timing on it. We got a Blackbird in time to build a building around it. Now, I know it came a little earlier and we had it sitting in the wings waiting, but still, it's incredible in the amount of work that went into putting this all together. We were just destined for greatness, I guess.
So if you'd like to see a history of uncrewed space programs and a brief history of the Cosmosphere as well, then come to our planetarium lobby. It's free to get in here. We don't charge for this part.
Yeah. Why aren't you here right now?
Well,